Hey everyone, sorry I couldn't be there tonight. I'm looking forward to watching all of your presentations once they're posted on Sakai. For my independent project and presentation tonight, I will be doing Arthur Wesley Dow. During my presentation, I will focus on Dow the artist, the educator, some important aspects of his life, and I will end with some memorable quotations from his book Composition that really stood out to me while I read it. Go ahead and get started with him as an artist. Dow was a painter, a printmaker, and a photographer. He began his formal training in 1880 in Massachusetts, which was his home state, and 4 years later headed off to France to continue his studies like many artists of the time. In 1889, when he came back to America, and while he was at the Boston Public Library, Dow came across a book about the Japanese printmaker Hokusai. He was highly influenced by his work and pursued an investigation into Oriental painting and design thereafter. Japanese influence can be seen in much of his work. On the screen, I have two works of art by Dow. The first one I want to talk about is at the upper left-hand corner. It's titled Boats at Rest, and you can see it at the Chicago Art Institute. The cropping, elevated perspective, and flattened pictorial space are characteristics of Japanese printmaking, and you may notice the bold and bright colors, which could possibly be influenced from his time in France and contact with Gauguin while he was there. The other artwork, titled Old Town Hill, which is a print, is a landscape that has flat, unshaded color, which is also a characteristic of Japanese printmaking. His influence and study of Japanese art leads me to Dow the editor. Here, I'm going to focus on his book Composition, that is basically a manual for the study of art that contains his ideas of Japanese art. Dow stated, as you can see on the screen, his purpose, which was to set forth a way of thinking about art. In Composition, he takes both teachers and students on a journey of how to develop each element individually and then together create harmony. As you can see on the screen as well, the three structural elements that build harmony that he talks about in his book extensively are line, notan, and color. The book gives numerous exercises to develop appreciation and beauty, and has a slew of sources at the end. For me, this was my first time reading the book for this project, and I really love the organized structure that builds from one element to the next and one exercise to the next. The quote underneath the book I included because it really struck me, that says, "To begin with rounding up forms in light and shade is to reverse the natural order, ignore structure, and confuse the mind." It made me think about how many times I have students in my classroom get overwhelmed or get frustrated when they're trying to create realism and they don't know where to begin. This book really breaks it down so that a teacher and a student can appreciate and find patterns of line within a work of art. If you haven't read this book, I really recommend that you do. It's a great read. And as you can see at the end for the principles, overall in this book, it increases the student's creative power, gives teachers an educational theory capable of the widest application. On this screen, there's a whole bunch of important aspects of Dow's life that I'll briefly go over. He taught at 3 schools, including the Pratt Institute, New York Art Students League, and Columbia University. He also established the summer school in his hometown, worked closely with Ernest Fenolloso, who gave him support in his quest of Oriental art and creating an approach to modern art teaching, influenced famous artists, including Georgia O'Keeffe, who said about his method that it could be used to make every aesthetic decision. It also provided an alphabet, so to speak, that could be arranged and rearranged, resulting in a great deal of individualism. Dow is also known for bridging a gap between Western and Eastern art, and of course the elements and principles of design. And to end my presentation for tonight, here are some final thoughts from Dow that are from his book Composition. I'm not going to read all 4 of them, but I'll read my favorite, which is at the top, that says, "Art resists everything that interferes with free choice and personal decision. Art knows no limits." And with that, I'll say good night, and again, I'm looking forward to seeing all of your presentations. Thanks.